Hello, welcome to Chess Lessons. Today I am going to discuss hypersensitivity pneumonitis. As you know, hypersensitivity pneumonitis, formerly called extensive allergic alveolitis, is a rare immune disorder that affects the lung. It is an inflammation of the alveoli within the lung caused by hypersensitivity to inhaled organic dust. The antigens responsible for hypersensitive pneumonitis are of different types. These are classified basically into three major categories. It can be either microbes, animal proteins, or low molecular weight chemicals. Hypersensitive pneumonitis presents in three forms: acute, subacute, or chronic. Acute hypersensitive pneumonitis presents as flu-like syndrome including fever, chills, malaise, cough, chest tightness, dyspnea and headache. It develops within hours following an antigen exposure. Symptoms typically resolve gradually within 12 hours to several days following exposure removal. It may recur on repeat exposure. Subacute hypersensitive pneumonitis, otherwise called intermittent hypersensitive pneumonitis, is of insidious onset and start with cough, dyspnea, fatigue over weeks to months. Progresses to persistent cough and dyspnea may occur in individuals with frequent acute reactions. Patient may feel anorexia or weight loss. Chronic hypersensitive pneumonitis may have unrecognized or untreated acute or subacute disease. Often presents with no obvious acute episodes, presents as insidious disease. It has progressive dyspnea, cough, fatigue, malaise, and/or weight loss. What are the clinical findings? Patients with acute hypersensitive pneumonitis presents with fever, tachypnea, and diffuse fine bibasilar crackles upon auscultation. In subacute hypersensitive pneumonitis, patients have features similar to acute disease, but symptoms are generally less severe and have lasted longer. Patients with chronic hypersensitive pneumonitis presents with muscle wasting and weight loss. Clubbing is observed in 50% of the patients. Will be tachypnea, respiratory distress, and respiratory crackles over the lung fields on auscultation. Radiological findings in acute hypersensitive pneumonitis include diffuse centrilobular nodules, ground glassing which is patchy or diffuse, areas of mosaic attenuation, head cheese sign which is a combination of centrilobular nodules, ground glassing, and mosaic attenuation. In lobular areas of low attenuation on expiratory scan due to air trapping. Centrilobular nodules are ill-defined or well-defined nodules of ground glass attenuation which indicate disease in the centrilobular structure, that is the centrilobular vessel or bronchiole. They are differentiated from other nodules because of the location in the center of the secondary lobule. Since they represent centrilobular structures, they never touch the pleural surface, usually 5 to 10 millimeter away from the pleura. So these are two X-rays of a patient having acute hypersensitive pneumonitis. You can note that there are bilateral diffuse nodular shadows mainly in the mid-zone and lower zones on either side. The second X-ray is taken after some time which shows progression of the lesion with large centrilobular nodules, coalescence of nodules with areas of ground glass on the lower zones. These are the HRCT cuts of the same patient. A shows diffuse ground glass shadows with few reticulations, centrilobular nodules, and mosaic attenuation. B shows ground glassing with predominant nodular shadows which are centrilobular in distribution, few nodules, coalesced few large nodules with the reticulation and air trapping. This particular feature is called head cheese appearance. Radiology of subacute hypersensitive pneumonitis include diffuse micronodules, ground glass attenuation, focal air trapping, mosaic perfusion, occasional thin-walled cyst, and mild fibrotic changes. See the X-ray of a female patient showing micronodular opacities in both midzones. The X-rays do not show too many findings in this patient, but on careful examination you can see few nodules, especially in the midzone on either side. But the same patient's HRCT shows diffuse micronodules, ground glass attenuation, and focal air trapping. Few thin-walled cysts are seen along with air trapping, and fibrotic changes are also noticed. In chronic hypersensitive pneumonitis, the radiological evidence of fibrosis is the predominant finding, and it represents end stage of repeated or persistent pneumonitis. Chronic HP had more extensive reticular pattern and were more likely to have traction bronchiectasis, honeycombing, and a UIP-like pattern than those with acute HP. The chest radiograph of a patient with chronic HP showing bilateral lesions comprising of reticular shadows and fibrosis as a feature of end-stage lung disease. HRCT shows centrilobular and peribronchial nodular opacities, extensive reticular lesions, lobular areas of hyperlucency, traction bronchiectasis, areas of pulmonary fibrosis and As you know, hypersensitive pneumonitis, formerly called extensive allergic alveolitis, is a rare immune disorder that affects the lung. It is an inflammation of the alveoli within the lung caused by hypersensitivity to inhaled organic dust. How is HP diagnosed? Identification of the offending antigen is the first and foremost step in the diagnosis. This can be achieved by a careful history including living conditions, surroundings, and occupation. Suspected antigen can be identified through skin test or by in vitro tests. The diagnostic criteria include confirmed history of exposure, positive precipitating antibodies to the offending antigen, recurrent episodes of symptoms, bilateral crackles on auscultation, evidence of weight loss, recurrent febrile episodes, symptoms occurring within 4 to 8 hours of exposure, characteristic HRCT findings as discussed earlier, evidence of poorly formed non-caseating granulomas and pathological specimen, mononuclear cellular infiltrates, and fibrotic scarring. How is this condition managed? Number one in the management is antigen avoidance. Then the main drug of choice is corticosteroid therapy. Use of low-dose macrolides have been suggested for reducing inflammation. Use of immunosuppressive agents such as azathioprine and cyclosporine has been documented in select cases, but most of the cases respond to corticosteroid therapy, except in late stage fibrosis. Thank you.